Focus, and you
Do not forget my story, Senua. Because your darkness...
Hello, this is Tam the TamBoTC channel, and we're going to be doing a new thing, a late review of something. That being a late review of Hellblade, Senua's Sacrifice. And I hope you enjoy this review. Tell me how I did in the comments below. Don't forget to leave comments below, if you want to, of course. And let's jump into this review. First off, I want to say this is a great game for those who want to get to know the perspective or what it is like to go through psychosis, hearing voices in your head and such. And it just gives you such a strong perspective on that. And if you're somebody who is sensitive to this or has psychosis and you don't want to get into this game because it might get too personal, then don't. If you don't want to do any kind of harm to yourself in any way that may make your psychosis worse, once again, hopefully, or, well, there's some people who do love this game that go through psychosis. So it gives you a better understanding, and it's just amazing how they approach this. And going into that, the sound design is just excellent. It's something you have to experience with the best headset that you have on ya. Just listen. It's amazing. The voices coming left and right all around you. It's crazy, and it gives the atmosphere and a great immersive experience to the overall game. The graphics are amazing also. It does that thing like Uncharted 4 where when it transitions from the gameplay, the in-game engine, to the cutscenes, it transitions just perfectly, and you barely notice like which is which. They're one and the same, and they do an excellent job. The animations are great, the graphics, once again, just superb and beautiful at times, like what you're gonna see here. And the storytelling is excellent. It's a journey with Senua into her mind, but it's through this Celtic land. This land that I'm guessing is Norway. Also, judging by a lot of the barbaric characters and figures that you run into. But yeah, it's really up to your interpretation. This game is a journey of its own, and you have to experience it. I wouldn't call it a Lord of the Rings journey, even though the lead narrator does sound like the High Elf who narrates the Lord of the Rings, especially in the Peter Jackson movies. But it does an excellent job. There's just amazing visuals, and it just tells a story both in the narration and in these runes you find around the place. There's barely any loading screens in between there, and though the only arguments I can see to making why this game may not go to a bigger score or so, the only problems is replay value and the combat being repetitive or maybe even monotonous in some cases, but it is very satisfying to pull off parries, and especially, I'm not going to spoil what it is, but you do get a better sword at some point in the game, and it plays into the lore and story, and it's really fascinating to learn the mythology, the mythos, and the storytelling of this world. It's just excellent. I love it all. You have to experience it. You got puzzles like the one you're going to see here. You just take a reflective surface or a symbol, rune, and put it on that surface, wherever that similar looking symbol shape, or wherever you find it is, and combine them together, and you unlock the way. I don't know how else to put that, to be honest. It's weird. But also, you know what? Mixing live action with in-game is pretty weird too. But I really like it, and it kind of brings me back to the days of playing the original Myst games, where they also did a similar thing of mixing the in-game engine with live action people. It works really well in this case. The actors are really great, and especially hearing and having the features and the featurettes behind the scenes of this game on the main menu to watch, I definitely recommend it. The main actress has never acted before. I'm sorry for any mic pops too, but tell me how my microphone sounds, by the way, and tell me how I do with this review once again. But when it comes to it, all these actors do an amazing job, and the actress is just does a superb job. I mean, there's some cases you can probably notice she's never acted before, but for the most part, it's just incredible to hear her story. She doesn't even... she thinks of acting as a nightmare to her, too. There's not much to the gameplay mechanics, but they serve their purpose and they're fun. And once again, when it comes to stuff like parrying, it's a completely satisfying experience. This game really helps you to learn how to play it alone. And you will learn over time. It's an amazing experience once again, and you have to adventure through it all. There are some really awesome bosses, and there may be some problems like a glitch or one or two glitches. There is some texture pop-ins, but they're barely noticeable, and they're barely even thing to really talk about because they barely really happen, and when they do, you forget them because of how immersive the experience of this game is. It's just... it makes me question, too, how am I to review a game like this and give it a score? And I shouldn't compare games to one another, but when I think of a game like Skyrim, where it gives me more content, it's heavy on the content, replay value, and so on, as well as its characters, immersive experience, and how it goes about it on its own, where this one has a completely different take on that. How do you review games like that? And once again, I'm not trying to compare, but it just kind of gives you an idea of how are you supposed to review a completely different type of game if it gets a very similar rating to that of another game that's completely just off the scales different from what this one is. I don't know how else to put it. Maybe I'm putting it entirely wrong. Maybe I'm being goofy. But no. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this. My final ratings, I give it my personal rating and then a audience rating, which is probably is not only for you guys, but probably a more believable rating, to be honest. Most of the time. Sometimes it'll appear higher than the personal score or lower. So it really depends. In this case, I'm going to give this game my personal rating of a 9 out of 10. It is an excellent game, and I don't have much wrong to say about it. For my audience score, I will give it a 8.9 out of 10. It is not so far from one another, and it's probably a first for review. Who knows? But I absolutely love this game. The detail that goes into it, the storytelling, and the adventure. And really, the adventure gives you a sense of what you're going to think you're moving towards. Is the character going to descend more into craziness and into her mind and eventually succumb to it? Or will she fight it and find it a natural and beautiful normal thing of her life? Is it a curse? Or is it part of herself? Is it natural? Is it beautiful? It's really up to the character and their journey. But I hope you guys once again enjoyed this and liked what I had to say and think. There's so much. I also have to say the music is absolutely awesome. And though there's not much variety to the enemy types, they still keep you going and feeling overwhelmed at times. The puzzles are great, the graphics are great, the gameplay serves its purpose for the most part, even though some can complain that it's repetitive, but I absolutely love it, its actors, sound design especially, and the adventure that it all gives you in the end. I'll see you guys next time on my next late review episode. I also want to note that they have the thing where it talks about if you keep dying, this supposed mechanic where you keep dying, you could die for good and lose your save. It could be deleted. There are moments where the game does break the fourth wall a little bit, such as Senua looking directly at the camera as if she knows you're there, and so on. It does an excellent job. Here's a little combat for you guys, by the way. Lighting is brilliant too, may I say. Yeah, don't believe it, it's just the developers trolling you, and it is kind of very, like, Dark Souls gameplay, but it's not to be compared. There's too many games that people use that comparison to. So yeah, it's a really intense game, and it's just something you have to experience on your own. So, once again, I will see you guys, you have to die here, on the next episode. Tell me how I did once again, and I'll see you guys next time. Let's experience this for a little longer, shall we? Also, I want to apologize that I didn't get to complete this game because the game did copyright claim me for the music at the end, and I couldn't turn it off for some reason. So yeah, there's that too. So once again, I'll see you guys next time. Bye!